Hey there guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another ranking video in Cold War. Today we are looking at all of the assault rifles in the game and we're ranking them on this lovely tier list that I have put together. And we are going to be explaining our tier selections in just a second here, but just before we do that, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on. I massively appreciate it and it really does help me out. Of course, I know about 90% of you guys watching these videos right now are not subscribed, so if you could take the time to hit that subscribe button so you can find your way back here, that'd be absolutely massive. So, without further ado, let's just explain our tier lists here. So, the tip top is the meta. These are weapons that are absolutely fantastic in this game, unbeatable at certain distances, and they just excel in most statistics in this game. There are a couple of weapons in this list in the assault rifle category, and that is absolutely fantastic. And most of the assault rifles are quite well balanced in my opinion, so we'll have to talk about those in just a second. A second category is meta, kind of. These are weapons that are slightly more situational than weapons at the tip top of the meta, and there's again a couple of weapons that fit into this category. They are weapons that do have some flaws, but they're still very, very powerful in relation to some of the other weapons in this game. They have good range values and good other statistics that make them quite easy to use, but a little bit less powerful than some of the tip top of the meta weapons. The third category is, of course, viable weapons. Weapons that are just okay, weapons that don't really excel in too much. They might have some particularly good statistics that sort of make them stand out. But again, they're not super powerful weapons. You're not just going to absolutely dominate every single lobby that you go in. They are slightly more situational than the meta kind of and the absolute tip top of the meta weapons. The next tier is, of course, situational, and these are weapons that can only really be used in certain ways and in certain situations, obviously. An example of a weapon that would go in the situational tier list is, of course, the MAC-10, a very powerful weapon in this game at those close quarters engagements, but outside of those very close ranges, you are going to struggle massively. So that's what the situational tier is all about. And then the last tier we have is just listed as nah. If you do find yourself in here as a weapon, you are probably not very good and are probably due for some balance changes very, very soon. So the first weapon that we are taking a look at here today is, of course, the AK-47. Now, you all know how I feel about this thing. This is an absolutely fantastic weapon in this game. It does feature a 300 millisecond time to kill out to about 30-ish meters or so. I think it's about 38 meters or so, which makes it an absolute weapon at those close to medium engagements. And this is an absolutely fantastic rifle, of course. You get great recoil control, really easily handling, like fast movement speeds. There's a lot of good things about this weapon, and it's a very, very powerful weapon and very, very easy to use. But the main draw card is, of course, that 300 millisecond time to kill out to about 30-ish meters or so. So I genuinely believe that the AK-47 is at the tip top of the assault rifle meta and is one of the best assault rifles in the game. You can even get a 3-shot kill if you are using the RPK barrel. You toss in 2 headshots in that mix, you get another body shot, and you are getting a kill with this thing, and it is absolutely very, very powerful in this game. So keep in mind that the AK-47 is one of the best weapons in Cold War right now. The next weapon on our list is, of course, the Fara 83. And now, you might think that this weapon is slow, it handles quite slowly, it's a little bit sluggish compared to some of the other weapons, but I am here to tell you today that the Fara 83 is one of the best assault rifles in the game. You can actually adjust for those handling statistics, you can make the thing aim down sight a little bit faster. What we really care about is a 300 millisecond time to kill out to about 70 meters or so, which is absolutely ridiculous, man. That is insane. So, of course, for having a very, very fast time to kill out to those very long distances, we're going to put this in the meta tier. We'll do a little bit more explaining. You get very, very simple recoil control. It's essentially just like up and to the right slightly, so you can just bring that down very easily. The weapon handles, it's a medium handling speed weapon, so it can be a little bit slow, but as I said, we can adjust for that. But really all you are after is those long-range combat statistics. You just get those very fast kills out to 70 meters, and that makes this weapon one of the most powerful in the game. It is essentially an LMG with like those range statistics, but also slightly faster handling than an LMG. It's a really, really good weapon in this game. If you haven't tried a class setup out for the Fara 83, I would expect a video on that very, very soon, so make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss that. I think the Fara 83 is a fantastic weapon and is definitely one of the top meta weapons in the assault rifle category. The next weapon on our list is, of course, the FFAR 1. In Warzone, this thing is absolutely dominant, one of the best weapons, even though they did nerf it recently. But in the Cold War meta at the moment, I feel this is a fairly situational weapon. Now, let me explain myself. This is an assault rifle that is only really powerful at close range due to its high fire rate and okay, relatively low damage numbers. But again, it does have that quite high fire rate, so you are going to get some kills very, very easily at those close distances. But as you move outside your 30 plus meters or so, which is where a lot of your gunfights will take place in this game, this weapon does start to get a little inconsistent and can struggle at those medium distances, as I said, with that sort of inconsistent recoil control. This is a weapon that really needs to be used aggressively and in close quarters, and some of the attachment situations that you find yourself in don't actually allow for you to play that style. So it's one of those weapons that can really only be used up close, as the recoil doesn't really allow you to fight at those longer distances. So I think the FFAR 1 is a situational weapon. It's not the worst thing in the game, so it doesn't belong in the dumpster tier, but I think it is very situational and you need to fight up close with it. The next weapon we are looking at here is, of course, the Groza, which I think is actually a fantastic weapon in this game. It was one of the weapons that I was most impressed with as of the most recent balance patch. I think it did get about a 40% increase to its damage range, taking its damage range out to about 60 meters or so, which is absolutely fantastic. You do get a slightly slower time to kill than some of the tip-top meta weapons. It's not like 300 milliseconds out to about 30 or 60 meters or so. So it is a slightly slower killing weapon than these other things, but it does have very good statistics otherwise. It's a very, very fast reload speed when you do have a very quick magazine on. The handling speeds are quite nice, aim down sight's fairly snappy, and the range values, as I said, are quite easy to control. It's just good, man. The recoil can be a little inconsistent, but you can get attachments to sort that out, and it has a very, very nice iron sight here. So I'm going to put the Groza in the meta kind of tier. It can be a little situational with that sort of uneasy to control recoil sometimes, but most of the time, it's going to be fairly easy to hit shots with this out to about 30 or 40 meters or so. But as I said, it does have a slightly slower time to kill than the AK-47 and the Fara 83, so I think this belongs in the meta kind of tier. It's almost there if the damage numbers were slightly higher, but I think this is a good spot for it at the moment. The next weapon on our list is the Krig 6. Now, I know a lot of you really, really like the Krig 6, and it is one of your favorite weapons in the game. Personally, I don't really like it that much. I think it is a very, very easy to control weapon in this game. The recoil that you do get from this thing is basically non-existent. It is an absolute laser beam. But I always find like the damage statistics to be a little lackluster. I feel like you just want more punch at those medium to longer distances, and that is not what I get from the Krig 6. So it can be a little bit of a pea shooter at those longer distances, but that's just me. I prefer some of these other weapons with a very fast time to kill out to about 70 meters or so. I think the Krig 6 is a very, very good weapon. It's got some good attachment choices. It's just one of those weapons that doesn't really stand out in anything apart from its recoil control. Doesn't have great damage, doesn't have like fantastic handling speeds. It's just a pretty good weapon. And I think for that, it belongs in the viable tier. Right in the middle, it is a fantastic weapon in this game. Still definitely one of the more usable options if you just want exceptional recoil control. But other than that, you're not really getting too much out of the Krig 6 here. Next weapon on our list is, of course, the QBZ-83, and this is a weapon that I haven't really spent a lot of time with, so this ranking is probably going to be a little unfair on it. I haven't used it too much, but I know lots of people aren't really talking about it, as it's kinda a similar boat as the Krig 6. The recoil control statistics are kind of nice with this thing. They are definitely worse than the Krig 6, and the damage values are fairly similar. It's not a fantastic weapon in any regard, but it's still an okay weapon. You can get by if you are using this thing. It is going to be okay, and you're not going to have a terrible time if you are using this to get a diamond camo or like your dark matter camo and stuff like that. It's just one of those weapons that doesn't really have like any outstanding statistics in my opinion. I feel like it belongs below the Krig 6 in the viable tier, but again, it's one of those weapons that you will not have a terrible time with. It's still acceptable, and it's still pretty good in this game. It's just not just one of those weapons that is absolutely going to dominate in any lobby that you go into. And last up, we do have the XM4, some of people's favorite weapon in this game, man. Like, a lot of people just use the XM4 because it's so consistent, it's really easy to use, you've got good damage, good range values, pretty easy to control. It's just a really good weapon in this game. This is another one of those things that is slightly less powerful than the AK-47 and the Fara 83 in terms of time to kill, and that is always going to knock it down slightly in terms of that rating that we do give it. I do believe this is a meta kind of weapon. It's almost there in terms of its time to kill. Like, it is slightly behind, as we mentioned previously, those other weapons that are absolute top tier. But it's still like just due to its ability to be very, very easy to control. You do sort of have to run 8 attachments on this thing, which I think is a little bit of a negative for it. But it is one of those weapons that's super easy to control. You get good statistics across the board. Handling's fine, range is fine, damage is fine. It's just one of those weapons that is really, really good. You can't really go wrong with the XM4. It is always going to be reliable. You're going to get good time to kills across the board, and it is just a fantastic weapon. But as I said, it's not one of the super fast killing weapons, as we mentioned earlier, like the AK and the Fara 83. And when you do compare these side by side, you're like, yeah, I'd probably rather an AK or a Fara 83 over the XM4, but that's just my opinion. So meta kind of is a fairly good place for it to be, as I think it is a good weapon in this game, but definitely one that isn't tip-top of the meta right now. Anyway, guys, that is all of our assault rifles here. If we go over this tier list again, we do have in the meta slot the AK-47 and the Fara 83, mostly due to its time to kill out to 40 meters and 70 meters respectively of 300 milliseconds, which is absolutely fantastic. And the rest of the stats, especially the AK-47 being only an assault rifle that requires 5 attachments to get by, is a fantastic option in this game. The meta kind of tier is, of course, the Groza and the XM4. I think these are very good weapons as well. Just slightly worse than the AK and the Fara 83, in my opinion. You do get good values across the board with these things, handling, damage, range, all these other good, lovely things. They're fantastic with these weapons, so keep those in mind. The Krig 6 and, of course, the QBZ-83 in the viable slot, I think they're just weapons that are fine. They're not really sort of excelling at anything really apart from the Krig 6 and its exceptional recoil control. Other than that, it's sort of okay weapons across the board there. And in the situational tier, we do have the FFAR one. I think it does still need a little bit of love in terms of that recoil control because it can be quite difficult to use outside of those close range engagements. It's very, very similar to the Mac 10 in that regard where you can only fight up close. And as the further you get away from the target, it gets a little bit more difficult to get kills. But it is, of course, the fire rate and, of course, the damage numbers that do cause that, as well as that recoil control we mentioned already. In the dumpster tier, nothing is always good, so that shows that the assault rifles are in quite a good state of balance. If one isn't definitely the worst thing in the game, it's sort of pretty acceptable in terms of balance. Of course, we do really like the AK-47 and the Fara 83. We're going to be taking a look at those side by side to see which one of these is actually the best assault rifle in the game, so we'll get onto that soon. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you do want to find yourself back here and watching that video comparing those two weapons side by side, or just more Cold War content in general. Of course, I do massively appreciate you checking out this video, and of course, I will see you in the next one. Bye!